Meeting's all yours, Sam.
All right. Thank you, Tom. So first of all, thank you everybody tonight for jumping on here, and congratulations on your assignments, your respective assignments. All of you have stood out in a very positive way. The committee nominated you, and then the board had approved those recommendations. So thank you for all replying and accepting in a timely manner. With that said, if anything happens leading up, just let us know. And, we know some things tend to happen. So okay, we're going to jump right into it for head officials. Contact the tournament director, which is the local organizing committee, and discuss the following. First, I want to start out with lodging arrangements and lodging for officials. Unfortunately, over the last couple of years, we were our own worst enemies. We had officials showing up at tournaments before their arrival days, and we also had people showing up and wanting a room on the back end. So the one thing I need everybody to do as a head official is, when you pull your list from the membership system, and we'll go through that, make sure you're in advance, those officials are going back in and verifying those dates. People don't pay attention to that, but it's very important because the LOC bases the number of nights and the number of beds from this information. And we can't have people like we did last year that are showing up to the desk in a hotel and belittling the hotel manager, demanding a room. And that happened, sadly, in 2 situations. So we just want to try to avoid that. So make sure with your people that you're verifying arrival and departures. Nicely remind them to go back in the system to take care of that. Okay, the number of mats to be used, and I will go through each event. Jack McCarty at USA Wrestling provided me with this information. This is what they are estimating, and they always do a slight increase based on the registrations from the previous year, which also, and I'll get into this discussion, we do have cap restrictions at events when it comes to beds. Okay. The standard is 4 per mat. Now, the leadership and the operations officials do not count in that cap. Okay. But we have to be very conscientious of that. So I'll start out with Northwest Regionals. That is anticipated to be on 16 mats. Okay. Women's World Team Trials in Spokane, 14 mats. Las Vegas, that's the big one, 32 mats. Western Regionals, 20 mats. Northeast Regionals, 18. Northern Plains, 18. Central, anticipated at 19. Southeast, 18. Southern Plains, 17. U23s and U20s in Geneva, 18. Okay. The dual tournaments, 16U, 16 mats. 14U, 16 mats. Women's national duels, 24 mats. Junior national duels, 16 mats. And kids nationals, 10 mats. Okay. Anybody have any questions about those? Okay. Also, the duty of a head official, make sure you know where the rules clinic's going to take place. Double check the schedules. Tom, Nick, and myself worked with Jack to get those times on the schedules that are on themat.com. So if you notice any issues, get with us, and then we can see what we can do about that. But all the information should be out there right now. Just, it's always good to double check with the tournament director before your events. Also, make sure you know where weigh-ins are taking place and the times. And again, all of that information is on the schedules. Okay. The head official should be the one that's bringing everybody together in a sense. You want to work with your head operations official, your clinicians, your weighmasters, coordinators. You're all one team. And for the event to be successful, teamwork is going to be vital. Okay. Head official, make sure you're delegating some of those responsibilities. Don't take all of it on yourself. Okay. This is why we have coordinators and assistant head officials. We want the experienced folks working with the newer folks to leadership positions, because the goal is to get them into those positions in the near future. So work together on organizing the rooming lists, mat and pairing officials, ideas for gifts. You could give any ideas to the LOCs, and then they'll get something that's within their budget. Social. Okay. Organizing, recruiting, corresponding, and informing officials. So the sign-up process, they are going to be very strict with this 40-day window. That has always been protocol, but we need to follow it. If you are not at the cap, but we are within the 40-day window, we still need to make sure that there's beds available, because Christina told me sometimes when they send the rooming list in, it is hard to then get additional beds if they aren't occupied already within the block. So you can't, even if you're not at the cap, if we hit that 40-day window, we still need to ask for permission to add anybody to the event. Okay. Use of social media. Anytime you want to get something out there, especially for the regionals, a lot of the nationals, I don't think we're going to have any issues staffing the mats. It's the regional level where we definitely need the help. We were shorthanded at quite a few of them last year, and with 3 of them on one weekend and 3 of them on the following weekend, they get tough to staff. So don't forget that we could do email blasts from the membership system if we need to recruit. Ryan Green and Grant Williams do a good job with the social media. So we could get that stuff out there if we need to recruit. Okay. Also, with that said, in the membership system right now, only the head official at each event is the one with access. Okay. That was also an issue that was brought to our attention, that sometimes people were just going in and adding names to the system again without permission. So they want everything right now streamlined through the head official for that respective event. So when you're working with your coordinators and stuff to do mat assignments and things like that, you're probably going to have to log in as the head official and then work on that together at this point. And I will see if we can get additional access for people. I have no problem asking about that, but as of right now, the way it stands, the head official is the one with the access.
Just a point on that, guys, the head official can download those lists and share them with their coordinators and their clinicians really easily and update that information. So if you want to disseminate that stuff out to your leadership team, it's pretty easy to do.
Okay, and on this slide, that's a lot of the stuff that I just said. Use your clinicians again, and they can help you develop all this stuff. And like I said, a workable roster of officials. Nationals, a lot of those nationals already have hit the cap. Women's nationals is closed because that's within the 40-day window. The US Open has reached capacity, and also the U23s and U20 World Team Trials in Ohio, even though that's not until June, that has hit capacity already. With that said, all the regionals need a lot of help. I was looking at those numbers today. The national duels, those will be established by an ad hoc committee. The state leaders, state chairmen need to be working with their own state head officials to make sure that they're sending officials to the events where they have a team. If they have multiple teams, then they need to send multiple officials. Tom Queasley and I sit on a committee with those respective tournament directors, Joe Stabilito, Pat Culp, Craig Lamont, Scott Cleaver. So we will make sure that you guys have a workable roster, and we will keep you informed and work with you guys on those. So for those of you that are head officials at the duels. Okay.
Is that why people can't sign up for the duels?
Actually, Jessica, they should be able to. Last year they used a different portal for the duels, which Tom and I have asked Pete if we could just go with the normal way of signing up because that's what people are used to. So they could sign up, but right now we didn't have that next meeting with that ad hoc committee to get everybody on the same page. So basically with the duels, we'll stay tuned for that.
Okay, I just had people trying to sign up and they were like, it's not popping up in the membership system. And I was like, okay, I'll ask.
Yeah, and they might be searching something wrong, to be honest with you, because I had no issue when I went in to sign up the old way.
Okay.
Jessica, do you know if they're using the old portal?
I do not, but I can definitely ask.
Because if they're using that portal, that is not functioning. They have to go in like they would be signing up for any other tournament, which is a change from last year.
Okay, I'll figure it out.
Okay, head officials, 1 month prior to your tournament. Oh, hold on. Contact and coordinate with the manager, all that stuff that we basically said already. Maybe as you get closer to the event, there's a change in the number of mats that need to be used. So just stay on top of those things. Make sure if there's any changes in weigh-in times, basically any change to the schedule, you are part of that team and the head operations official as well. I'm going to ask Jeff Jones to make sure that he posts his assignments on our website because we have all of our mat official stuff there, but the operation official stuff is not on there yet. And it would be good for you guys to know who you're working with. If that doesn't get posted, you could simply reach out to me and I have that list. I could tell you who the head pairing official is. Well, I better say head operations official. Sorry, they'd chew my head off if they heard me say that right now. But make sure that you know the schedule and if anything's changing, be involved in those decisions. I said this already, the head official is the only person with administrative rights right now. We will look into getting that changed. Make sure we're aware if it's flow or track, especially for the national duels. This is our new position, the jury coordinators. If you are a jury coordinator at an event, okay, that is your responsibility for every 4 mats at a national duels. There should be a person on jury. That was part of the matrix that Pete helped us set up. So your job at the national duels as the jury coordinator is to make sure there's a person for every 4 mats. And in most cases, you should be at those events, you should be using the clinician and also the other assigned assistant head official and coordinators to help learn those roles. The person that stays off the mat at the duels is the head official. The head official at the national duels should never be assigned to reviews. Okay. So the jury coordinators, they need to know if it's flow or track, familiarize themselves with those different functions. And you will be the one working with the head official to decide, okay, Ryan Green is on jury for mats 1 through 4. Mark Moore is on jury for mats 5 through 8. Okay.
Sam, I'm going to jump in here. It's my understanding that they are going to use for all national and regional national competition the new USA bracketing system.
Perfect. Okay.
I have some how-to videos that I've kind of collected that I will make a link to and send out to you guys as soon as I get them all done. The interface for the mat side is very, very similar to track. There are some differences. The one thing I'm not totally understanding with is how the video review works. But I'll be doing a tournament with that this weekend, so I'll have a little bit more knowledge on that. But expect that to all run on USA bracketing for the most part.
Thank you. I forgot we were doing that. So I'm glad you pointed that out.
Hey, Sammy, real quick. Are those jury numbers in addition to the cap on the number of referees?
For those events, no, because most of those people that should be assigned to the jury should be your assigned folks anyway, your leadership. The only one that doesn't need to be on the mat or doing reviews at the duels is the head official. Because they need to be there to out and fires, evaluate, get things prepared for the next session, be available if coaches have questions at the head table. They can't be just stuck mat side. So that was part of the negotiations we had at the board meeting with Pete. But the jury coordinators, along with the assistant head official, along with the clinician, those should be the people that get targeted first for the jury coordinators to use at those events.
Jose Delgado, our flow connection, just put in the chat that all tournaments will be USA bracketing.
Excellent. Okay, just to reiterate, the national cap restrictions, we talked about that. Recruiting for regionals is definitely going to need to happen. So I suggest to all of you that are head officials or coordinators at a regional, maybe get in the system, start sending. I know Chris Curtis does this in our region and it always helps. He'll email all of the officials. He'll download a list of all the New York officials, all the New Jersey officials, and he'll blast that out. And our region, typically we do okay. And I attribute some of that to Chris's work. Even when he's not in an assigned role, he's helped with that. So that's not a bad idea to do that in your regions. Cause like I said, there's 3 regions on the second weekend of May. And then the third weekend in May are the other 3 regionals. So it's a difficult time frame.
Where do we get the lists up per state of officials?
Sorry, who was that?
Dan, where do we get the list of
So
officials
if you-
per state?
You could, an easy thing to do, maybe not using all of the officials, but if you go on USWOA.com and look at who the state officials directors are, that would be a good place to start. For example, in your region, you can include Rob Roy in Nevada and Todd in California and Tony in Wyoming, and their information should be on there, and then maybe get it through them first, and then they can disseminate that out to their people. That might be the easiest way.
Thanks.
Yep. Head officials, you should always send an email introducing yourself to the officials that are coming to your tournament. Make sure they're provided with the hotel information, the tournament schedule, what your expectations are for weigh-ins. Tournament clinicians and weighmasters should understand their responsibilities, but as the head official, tournament organization does fall on you and the tournament manager. Assistant head officials and coordinators work with and head officials work with your assistant head officials and coordinators, allow them to shadow you in all the decisions, and how you're handling all the different tournament operations. Like I said, our goal is to increase the pool of officials that can handle leadership at events. Larger events like the US Open, Fargo, those require constant teamwork and flexibility to make sure that we're successful. For the US Open, an example, Nick Kindred will build mat assignments. He'll send a Google form out to all the coordinators that are part of that event. And then all of those folks will nominate the X's and the Y's, and then it gets tallied up in this system. Because I had questions on this last year. People were like, well, how did I become an X or a Y in Fargo? Or why wasn't I an X or a Y in Fargo? So we go off of all of the input that gets compiled before the event. And then as the event progresses, obviously everyone knows things can change. Okay. So those larger events, it takes a lot of teamwork on the front end and then during to make sure we pull it off. So if you're at your regionals as a head official, maybe get those recommendations of who should be the different mat leaders, work with your people, review the lists with them, and make sure everybody's opinion is at least heard. So it's one well-oiled machine. Okay. Just so you know that there's a guidebook on the USWO website for challenges and video review. There's a guidebook for the Waymasters. All of our assignments, whether it's domestic, international, trials, whatever it may be, all of those things can be found on our website. Tom Queasley does a great job keeping that updated. There's all sorts of educational resources on there as well, the different rule books and things like that. So familiarize yourself with our website, please. Okay, this is for the clinician. We'll be going over that tomorrow with them. Like I said, the job of the coordinator or the assistant head official is to learn the duties of the head official and clinician with the goal of attaining these positions in the future. Okay. So you can help with all the different things that go into tournament leadership. Simple things like checking officials in and out of the clinic, make sure everybody's there. Also, a big help would be the stipend calculator, just putting the names in the stipend calculator so that the head official can then go in and record how many different sessions somebody worked. As a coordinator at a tournament, if you're out, walking around and maybe you're evaluating officials like you should be and somebody needs a break, maybe that's where you jump in and serve as a mat chairman or jump on the whistle if people need a break. Okay. Just, you're in a role to help out wherever it's best for the tournament. But with that said, the final decision does lie with the head official. So if there is a disagreement, the head official does have the final say. And I stated this already, if the event does not have enough officials, maybe the coordinator is the one that gets pulled to work on the mat. And then between sessions, they're still learning the different things and providing feedback with mat assignments, learning about the video review process, helping with the stipend calculator, all of those things. Okay, logging into the membership. Okay, everybody has seen this before, right? You've all signed up for tournaments. And you would just go into your own profile, and I believe it's on the left-hand side. As the head official, you would have access to the event that you are assigned to right now. All the head officials should have that access. And I ask those of you that are head officials, please share your lists with the rest of your leadership team in the next couple days so that everybody could get on the same page. Setting up mat assignments. That's done right in the membership system. One thing when we learned last year, make sure you're just setting up mat assignments for the sessions of wrestling. Okay. It's a lot easier. And for head officials, tell your waymasters, those things can be emailed separately. Okay. Because it really messes up the evaluation system. If you're assigned and it was a weigh-in session, it's still putting out that there's missing evaluations, and it's just a real pain to go through all that. So make sure when you're setting up mat assignments, it's just for the sessions of wrestling. You don't need a mat assignment for the clinic. You don't need a mat assignment for weigh-ins. Okay.
Sam, I'm going to jump in here one more time at least, but we will send you a copy of this PowerPoint. Those little icons you see off to the left are linked. If you open up the PowerPoint and play it, you can't just have it in the edit mode, but you open up the PowerPoint and play it and click on those links. Those will take you to a tutorial video about the stipend calculator and the mat assignment page. It's important that you use that mat assignment page because that helps us track who is doing and who is not doing evaluations. And that's important to us when we start picking leadership teams. if people aren't doing evaluations, we're starting not to consider them for leadership roles. So it's important that it's a little bit cumbersome. A better way of doing it is coming in the new US bracketing system. They just haven't got that far yet. But we need to have you use that mat assignment piece that's in the membership system. Thank you, Sam.
No, thank you, Tom. So please, again, just as a reminder, you only use it for the actual sessions of wrestling. Do not use it for who attended the clinic or when they're setting up the weigh-in crews. As Tom said, and I was going to mention that, not everybody needs to be an X or a Y. Just because somebody's an M1, that does not mean they need to be an X or a Y. If you're running low on officials at a tournament, I would also strongly suggest that if you may only need to have an X on every mat, but do not have an X and Y on one mat and then an X on this mat. Just make sure you're consistent about it. Okay, because optics are everything. If there's not enough people to fill the Y role, then you don't really necessarily need to have that at all. Okay. But again, set your teams up for success. Whoever's performing well, whoever your most experienced people are, your mentors, all of that stuff, take that into consideration when you're building your mat assignments. Okay. As a head official, help the clinician at the rules clinic. It's good that we continue to remind our members of having a current photo, making sure that their arbiter account number is in the profile. That always seems to be some sort of issue. Speak to the responsibilities of the mat leaders. This goes with completing the evaluations, as Tom mentioned. Also speak to the officials' code of conduct and the use of yellow and red cards. Okay. There's a time and place where a yellow and red card is needed, but we also have to make sure that all of our officials are being professional as well. It's a two-way street. If you do have to issue a yellow or red card, make sure that you're getting, all of the information you need when you're filling out your tournament report so that we know who the offending coach was. We also know who the official was that gave the card, because we like to track all of that stuff. Maybe you need to get involved. Maybe somebody was too quick to give a red card, and then you, as the head official and the clinician, you guys talk about it. You mitigate the situation. Maybe it didn't warrant a red card, and you knock it down to a yellow card. Like, that's, you guys as teams and leaders can figure all that stuff out. Okay. Be professional at the tournaments. Bad language in clinics, poorly chosen jokes, actions, and remind your officials too about being in the public eye. Coaches like to exaggerate things. Let's just leave it at that. So tell people to just be careful of their surroundings and be professional as best they can. Okay, as leaders at the tournament, even though some of you are young, like I said at the beginning of this call, you guys have stepped up, and the assignment committee, along with the board, is excited for your opportunities and know that you'll do a good job in this role as a tournament leader. Be a mentor to others. Okay, don't belittle anybody. Help them out. Work with them. Okay, we want to continue to stay as the #1 organization in the world, because I'll be honest, I wouldn't be where I am without some of the great mentors that we have. We're lucky to have Bill Steckline and Rick Tucci, and two of my great mentors are on this call right now, and Tom Queasley and Jerry Kuntz. So use your resources, be there for the officials, and just make sure your tournament runs as successful as possible. Like I said, after the tournament, the coordinators, you can assist the head official. All of the people in the leadership position should be conducting as many evaluations as possible. Make sure you're getting your stipend calculator form submitted in a timely manner. tournament reports. I know Tom Queasley works really hard on getting all that stuff together for our board meeting. And even as months pass after an event, he's still tracking things down. So we would like to see those turned in maybe 1 week after your event, 1 to 2 weeks, if at all possible. Okay. That should be coming from the head official, but with input from the rest of the leadership team. But get those in a timely manner. Any questions, could reach out to myself, Tom Queasley, or Rick Schwab. Rick Schwab is now taken over as the chair of education, where Tim Pearson was. So he'd be able to assist, and we'll talk to the clinicians tomorrow when it comes to near pods and the different presentations. Casey will be creating a presentation for this year as well. There have been no significant changes with the UWW rules. So if anybody was curious about that, they're likely going to continue to be some points of emphasis at the different tournaments, but there's no drastic rule changes from what we were used to last year. Online evaluation and upgrade process. As Tom said, these icons, if you view this presentation later and you don't have this in edit mode and you have it in the presentation mode, you can click this and it talks about how to do these evaluations. It's very important for us to have as much data on these officials. And I know it's difficult at the regionals, especially when there's not 3-man mechanics. People get stuck by themselves sometime. And that's why it's important to at least have the clinician and the head official at least have 2 or 3 evaluations on those folks that show up to regionals, even if you're in a crunch where you don't have 3-man mechanics. Because we noticed last year, there's some people that only had 1 or 2 reviews total, and it makes our job very difficult. So just get as many reviews in there as you can on people with what you have. And I mentioned this before, set your crews up for success with your X's and Y's. Make sure you're watching throughout the tournament and you reward people for their performance. Okay. Reward them. I know that's, I think Andrew and Susanna did a great job with that at Women's Nationals. You know, they used myself, Jason, Danny. They used all of us as chairs in the finals, which was appropriate because we were then able to showcase some people out on the mat that were very deserving. You know, RJ Walker had a phenomenal tournament. Carl DeLuca, who's on this call. Okay, so make sure you're rewarding people for their performance and giving them a chance with those later round matches and the finals. Okay. Because our goal is to retain, you know, all the officials. With the evaluations, if you get in a position where it's impossible to really evaluate everybody, we want you to pay close attention to the M1Cs first and then go at it from that angle. M1Cs, M2s, M3s. Okay. There's a form here for the tournament report. It does say 1 week here, so let's stick with that. I know I said 1 or 2 weeks a few minutes ago, but it says it right here in the presentation. Tournament reports are due 1 week after the competition. And within your tournament report would be any information on red and yellow cards. Name of the coach, state represented, and which official issued the card. Okay. Now it's time for any questions. Tom or Jerry or Jose, some of the more I see on here, some of the more experienced head officials. Is there anything that you would like to add?
Hey, hi, hello, hey y'all. It's hard. It's tough for me not to say hi. I love you guys. Anyway, I'm gonna send to Tom Queasley the replay buffer setup document for the video computers for the jury members. If you are the jury coordinator for your event, it's very good for you to get well versed in how that works. Hell, even download OBS and just mess around with it if you want to. But I would have that in hand in case whoever's on site doesn't know how to set that up. You can tell them, hey, this is how we're doing it. This is what we need to be doing. So your reviews will go a lot easier. So I'll forward that on to Tom here shortly.
Jose, is there much difference between the bracketing system setup and the old flow or the old track wrestling for video review?
No, there shouldn't be because it's the video that we're watching and the scoring doesn't really affect the video.
Yeah.
Right. The video is still all going through OBS. They're pulling the there's some question. I haven't worked with it specifically on whether the clock is exactly correct on timing because of how they're having to pull in the graphics. But I haven't seen it firsthand to see whether it's a severe delay or microseconds of a delay.
Hey, it's my understanding that new system, it's microseconds. It's very much closer. We don't have that half a second delay or 3/4 of a second. It's pretty quick. Just to let you know.
Well, I'm
Thanks,
usually
Harp.
second behind anyway, so it's no big deal.
I mean, one thing I think we need to stress to all these X's and Y's to make sure that they're getting their evaluations at a good time. I looked in the system and we had some given them like a month or two later. I think it's really good if they can to give them information so they can use that throughout that tournament and get better, and they can be watched and evaluated to see if they're improving on those things. So if we're waiting too long, it's too late for a lot of that.
Hey, Sammy. This is
Hey,
Todd.
I knew we couldn't shut him up. Here he comes.
Well, I'll just say, Tom's done a great job with the USWA website, and you mentioned it earlier. Get familiar with that website. Get familiar with all the officials' resources that are on there. It'll cover all the evaluation stuff and really just, all the documents needed. Then to be able to share that information, with your clinician in the clinics, at the meetings, and just really so you know where to go, and then you have all the information at your fingertips to help get these evaluations done, to help communicate with all the other responsible things that you have to get in a timely manner. So I've always found that USWA website has been the greatest resource. And I just think that we really need to make sure we're embracing that team. That's going to help you with your role as a head official or future role as a clinician or whatever. So that's my 2 cents. Thanks, Tom. Thanks, Sam.
Todd, I got one question for you. Have you changed the evaluation system much? Is that pretty much the same as far as choices and pull downs? I know you were working.
We submitted a few changes to Dave. They were minor changes. They were basically updating some of the drop downs, remove one of the drop downs, and then adding instead of having 7 behavioral questions where you rank them 1 through 5, we changed that to 5, and then just updated the categories. So we're hoping that those minor changes will be done by our first tournament, which is in Centralia in a couple weeks. Haven't heard back, so I'll follow up with him. Yeah, they're going to be minor, but it shouldn't really impact. It should actually help everybody do it a little bit quicker, a little bit smoother. And then you could do the overall rating. Good comments at the bottom, where we thought that was required comment section, but it's going to be required now where people could put all that information in there.
One more thing with what Todd just said too, and Tom might have mentioned this earlier. The domestic assignment committee, prior to names going to the USWA board for approval, we will be looking at if chairman if they're not doing their reviews, and that's supposed to be part of their job as a MAT leader, it's probably not a good look if they're getting recommended as a head official or a coordinator at a tournament, because there's even more duties that come with those roles. So remind your people that you know, they were selected to be in that role for a reason. We need their expertise and to step up as a mentor to do those evaluations, please.
Can I add something to that, Sammy? This is Nolan.
Yes.
I would encourage everybody to like when it comes to the X's and Y's, like encourage them to like keep like a notebook or something on hand and just like keep notes of who they're working with throughout their sessions. Because oftentimes, like by not doing that, we do tend to forget like sort of specific situations that we're trying to like eval guys on and give them like pointers on what to improve on. And like usually keeping, just keeping a notebook of some sort, keep notes of that kind of helps, which does allow for them to get their evaluations in quicker.
Very good point. Thank you, Nolan.
Hey, Sammy, how do we know what the cap number is for a tournament? Where do we find that info?
So I have that information. I went over how many mats were at each tournament at the beginning of the call, and the restriction is 4 per mat. So your event is 20 mats, so the cap is 80.
And who determines if we can run 3-man versus single? Do we have to work with the tournament director?
You
or do
would
we
have to
just
work with
do
the
we determine-
tournament director, because I know a lot of regionals got forced into that last year. And it's just unfortunately the nature of the beast, because there's so many tournaments, and so we want to recruit and get as many people to these tournaments as we can, but it's likely inevitable that some of the regionals may not have the full 3-man mechanics. And that's where within your leadership team, you're going to have to make decisions on, do you put some of your most experienced people by themselves and then, do it that way? I know me personally, I would strongly recommend that if something is a qualifier, cadet and junior level, that's a qualifier to Fargo, that should have priority, and that should have 3-man mechanics. If it's a festival or something like that, we don't want to discredit that, because it's important for all the athletes, regardless of however old they are, but that might have to come into play with your decisions.
Thank you.
Dan, to your question earlier about list of state and which officials
And
are
I
state-
found it, Tom.
Did you?
Yeah, on the membership. I
Okay.
found where you can go in to
So
get
the-
all the officials.
Are you getting just the ones listed for your tournament? Or you
You
got
can
them
get
all?
both. I found where you can get both. One is USWOA officials, and one is for the events. Go to
Because
the
there is
events. Yeah.
There is a list of like 2,700 officials that are registered in the country. I don't know if you have access to that. I do. I can download that as a CVS file or an Excel file and shoot it out to all the tournament leaders too. So you think
Yeah, I
that
think a personal message from the head official to the state head official and getting it out to those people, that would be a really good way to start too.
yeah,
People get
it's
to
a
know
way to
you.
get them
and-
engaged too.
Yep.
We have trouble engaging some of those people, so it's a good way to get them engaged. If you need some information, don't be afraid to ask me. I can get to some of that information and send it to you too. So
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Does anybody else have any questions? Okay, well, we wish you guys all the best of luck. If you need anything leading up to the tournament, don't ever hesitate to reach out to Tom or myself or any board member for that matter. And we'll get you what you need as quick as we can.